Shohei Ohtani has returned to the pitching mound today. He pitched one inning for the Los Angeles Dodgers, gave up a couple hits and a run, but good development to see him back on the mound for the Dodgers. They need some arms, and he has been one of the best ones in Major League Baseball ever since he came over internationally. So good on him for getting back to the mound today. Zach Wheeler has been in the news anyway for the Philadelphia Phillies about the possibility of him retiring at the end of the 26-27 season. We'll have to see if that ultimately happens, or if this is just kind of a bluff with all the labor disputes coming up. Maybe he just doesn't want to deal with it. Maybe it's just him trying to push this team down the finish line, keeping them strong throughout the year. But we shall see. There's plenty to get into around Major League Baseball, but those are the top two stories today. We'll touch a little bit on where things stand across Major League Baseball with the fallout from the Rafael Devers trade. We'll also touch on some of the standings from around Major League Baseball as well. That and much, much more ahead here next on the MLB Hot Stove Daily. And welcome into the MLB Hot Stove Daily. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe if you wouldn't mind. It goes a long way to helping us out at this channel. We will be back live for you guys every single weekday. So make sure you turn on those notifications for when we do go live. You can also follow us on X at UpsideSN if you want to go ahead and be notified there as well. Or you can find us on Facebook, Upside Sports Network. Now, we'll start with Shohei Ohtani. Of course, been the MVP candidate pretty much since he's came over, internationally anyway, from Japan. Really like what he's done, of course, in Major League Baseball. To me, for my money, pound for pound, probably the best player we've ever seen in Major League Baseball history. Yes, I'm including Babe Ruth. Yes, I'm including Barry Bonds from the offensive side. Yes, I'm including Aaron Judge, etc., etc. When you put together the pitcher that Shohei Ohtani is when healthy, when you put together that with the hitter that he has shown to be, he is certainly pound for pound the best player we've ever seen. Now, the question is, can he keep it together and be able to do both at the same time? That's always been the question. Could he do it? Can he stay healthy doing it? Well, we've seen plenty of injuries in his career, and it would suggest that there is some durability concerns when it comes to operating on both sides of the equation here. As a hitter, if he focused on that solely, I think we're probably talking about him and Aaron Judge as probably the best hitters in the game right now. Do I think that Ohtani would be a better hitter than Aaron Judge if he had focused only on that? I think the jury's still out on that one. I think Aaron Judge has proven himself to be that good of an offensive piece. But when you factor in the hitting and the pitching combined, Shohei Ohtani's candidacy to win MVP if they were in the same league would be leaps and bounds ahead of where Aaron Judge is at, understanding how good Aaron Judge has been. The question has been, though, can he stay healthy? And we've seen several instances where he's out for significant periods of time. I think this is his third major injury since coming over to the big leagues. That's not nothing to sneeze at. So Dodgers invested a lot of money in him, 10 years, $700 million, of course, deferrals in there, et cetera, et cetera. Something to kind of keep in mind as well as how they've managed that money there as they try to work around the luxury tax concerns, tax, payroll, all that kind of stuff. But as far as Shohei Ohtani goes, to get him back on the mound today, kind of utilizing him on the active roster as kind of a quote-unquote rehab outing for him today. Understandably, he's going to have a 9 ERA after today. Doesn't sound like anything good, but it is just the first start. So I will say that good on him for at least going out there, giving it the good college try, but I wasn't expecting anything great today. I was expecting him to try to get through the outing and stay healthy, not push himself too far, not strain his elbow, anything like that, and to get out of it healthy is the primary thing. We'll see how he feels tomorrow. Of course, in the moment, you got the adrenaline pumping. He's hitting in the game as well. So he's in a good spot right now, but I want to see how he wakes up tomorrow after pitching, even for that one inning, and just see how his body recovers from that. Item number 2, Zach Wheeler and the possibility of his retirement. We'll have to see if this ultimately comes to fruition. I think this is a little bit of talk anyway at this point. Would I be overly surprised if he retired? No, but I would say it's somewhat out of the norm, if you will. Zach Wheeler is still one of the best pitchers in the game, quite possibly the best pitcher on that Philadelphia Phillies staff. They got into great performances out of Jesus Luzardo this year. They really needed it with Nola not really performing and lots of money committed to him for future years as well. But I think he sees the writing on the wall there for Philadelphia. They haven't been able to make any big additions to this roster. They haven't been able to push it across the finish line and win a World Series. So what exactly is he sticking around for if he continues to play after his current contract? I think that's more where the conversation lies as far as whether his future remains in Philadelphia or if he wants to try his luck somewhere else, possibly signing with a perennial contender like the Los Angeles Dodgers, who always seem in need of the next shiny thing from a pitching perspective. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Zach Wheeler in a different uniform after his current contract runs out in Philadelphia if they can't get that World Series ring in the next couple of years. They do have a good team. Trey Turner seems to have bounced back a little bit offensively for them. They really needed that if they were going to try to push the envelope forward in that division. Understandably, the Mets are a significantly better team than they were, say, a couple of years ago. Great strides last year for the Mets, and then this year going out there and getting the job done, bringing in Juan Soto. Soto has not played very well so far this season, but I do expect him to pick it out as the year goes along. Welcome in, Nando. Appreciate you joining us once again. Good to see you. It's been quite a hiatus for us, so we're glad to be back with you guys. We did a live for you guys last night around 9 o'clock. Thought we were going to do one around 9 tonight, and then I was like, well, I want to see how Ohtani's outing goes, but I also want to say hello to those of you who might be watching from international streams as well. I know we gained quite a few international viewers during our time when we were doing the off-season shows for the MLB Hot Stove Daily, and we're going to get into a more regular routine with that now that things are back working the way they need to. So, Nando, Ohtani didn't look too great in that one inning. True, but again, I'm counting this more of a rehab start. I wasn't necessarily worried about the result. For me, the only thing I really want to see him is to get out of the inning, or even if he doesn't get even one out, I just want to see him get up, throw to major league hitters, and sit back down, not injured. That's the important part. Part two comes tomorrow to see how his body responds to that one start that we've seen him give so far. So, again, just one inning, 2 hits, 1 run earned. Not anything to write home about. The part that you write home about is going to be his health going forward. If they can get him to 2 innings next time, or even just another inning just to replicate what he did tonight, to just show that he's able to do it, and do so healthy and come out the other side without any additional soreness or a setback in his rehab or something that's going to put him on the injured list or anything like that. That's the important part for Shohei Ohtani. Are we looking for him to be Cy Young level Shohei Ohtani right out of the gate? I know there's a lot of fans out there that wish that would happen and how sports worked. But that's not how this thing works. These are Major League Baseball players, and even players on these really poor teams that you think have no business competing on the same field as the Los Angeles Dodgers are still Major League players, are still Major League team. And they're going up against a tough opponent tonight as well in the Padres. So I was expecting kind of what we saw tonight, a little bit of up and downs in his start tonight. But again, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 inning, got out of it healthy, able to stay in the game, has a couple of hits in the game as well. Looks like the old Shohei to me is on the mend, and hopefully we get to see him back to being his normal self sooner rather than later. But appreciate the comment there, Nando. We'll be back live again tomorrow night. We'll be doing our Upside Sports Talk tomorrow, where we'll get into quite a bit of different topics, not only baseball. We'll touch on the NBA Draft Lottery, about Cooper Flagg. We'll talk a little bit about the surprise blockbuster we saw over the weekend with Desmond Bain going to the Orlando Magic. We'll also touch on the Kevin Durant sweepstakes, the NBA Finals, with OKC 1 win away from a championship trophy there. We'll also touch a little bit on the Stanley Cup Final with the Florida Panthers 1 win away there as well. But be sure to hit that like and subscribe if you are new here, and let's dig into some of the standings around Major League Baseball. All right, so we'll start here with the wild card standings on the American League side. The division winners currently would be the Detroit Tigers. I know all you guys had that one penciled in at the start of the season, but their pitching staff has been great. The offense has been way better than expected. Run differential of plus 80 so far, 19 games over 500. That's nothing to sneeze at. That's a great job in what was a not necessarily an insurmountable American League, but a American League that was expected to have much better teams than the Tigers going into the season, especially after they didn't get the job done, bringing in an Alex Bregman. You look at the New York Yankees, winning right now in the American League East, 42-29. They're expected to get Giancarlo Stanton back. I'm a little bit surprised that he's actually coming back this season. I thought he was destined for surgery and going to be out the entirety of the season. I still think that's a distinct possibility for him, but the Yankees are, seeing their chance to really compete and try to win this year with a very muddled American League. And while they certainly have a better pitching staff than what they've had in recent years, they certainly will miss Garrett Cole when it comes to October. Houston Astros, once again on top in the American League West. Seems like it has been that way for the last 8-9 years now for the Astros. 8-2 in their last 10, 5 straight wins for them. They're playing the A's right now. We'll check in on their score here in just a moment. But 11 games over 500, significantly better than I think anybody expected them to be. Pitching has been the number one reason why they're at where they are right now. 11 games over 500, and yet it's only a plus 39 run differential. Tells me that the run differential there means we're going to see some regression from this Astros team. I still think they're a good club. I still think they have enough pieces to be able to get a wild card spot. I think with the up and down performances of pretty much every team in that division there, I think the Astros are as good a chance as any of these other teams to win the division. Looking at the wild card, you got the Tampa Bay Rays, everybody's favorite to win the number one wild card spot, right, going into the season. How about no? The Rays 40-32 right now, run differential plus 68, and they're doing it with a little bit of offense and they're pitching. I'm a little bit surprised that the offense has played up the way it has. The pitching we knew was going to be there. It always seems to be. But the offense there, for me, is a little bit of a surprise. Would I expect them to still sell a couple of pieces at the deadline? Yes, because that's what the Rays do. Even when they're trying to win, they still try to keep their future as the number one focal point here. So where a lot of teams sell out to win that World Series year in and year out, the Rays are the exception to that rule. They don't necessarily view any one World Series as the key here. They view the future success of that franchise to be able to win games, period, as their number one goal. And yes, of course, they would love to win the World Series. Every team says that's their number one priority. But I think we have a very big body of work here from the Tampa Bay Rays about what their true intentions are when it comes to building a roster. If they were looking to try to win a World Series, they would not have moved on from Blake Snell. They would not have moved on from David Price. They would not have moved on from many other arms, many other bats as well in this lineup. Whenever money came around to try to pay these guys, they'd have figured it out, find a way to get another team to pay down the contract of another superstar player, give away some prospects in order to try to compete for 1 year. But that's not the way the Tampa Bay Rays do things, and great on them. I mean, yes, you want to prioritize the World Series. That is the ultimate goal. That's why you play the games. That's why you want to win the championship. You're not necessarily playing to win a game on August the 4th, and that's your World Series. But the Tampa Bay Rays, they seem to view things a little bit differently, that every game to them seems a little bit more similar in value than anything else. Now, as flawed as I think that view is, it's what has kept them to be so competitive for years and years. Now, while that's kept them from the World Series, it's also kept them competitive and relevant in a market that doesn't necessarily view them as the place to go to watch a game. So that's something I think will be resolved when they figure out their stadium issue. And good on them for continuing to try to keep fan interest with being competitive on the field. But at a certain point, you got to try to win the World Series. We saw several times where doing it the Tampa Bay Rays way has cost them chances to win World Series in the past. Just look at their one appearance in the World Series recently when they cut Blake Snell's start short in there, and very likely was the very reason they did not win the World Series that year. Toronto Blue Jays getting that extension done with Vlad Guerrero Jr. really has seemed to stabilize the room there in Toronto. They are 38-33 right now, 5 games above 500, but a negative run differential tells me they're playing a little bit above their heads. A 3-game losing streak right now, but 6-4 in their last 10. Pitching is a little bit underwater as far as I'm concerned. They need to get a little bit better if they want to try to compete on the pitching side of things. Max Scherzer was supposed to help in that regard. He has been unable to do so far. Seattle Mariners got off to a great start offensively. Pitching has really let them down for the most part recently, though. Offense has kind of come back down to earth as well. They're 36-34. 3-game win streak, but still 4-6 in their last 10. They kind of had that division lead well in front of the Astros, and then they kind of swap places. Astros go on a big win streak. Mariners go on a big losing streak, and so they kind of flip-flop places there. But they're still good enough for last place or the last wild card spot on the American League side. Do I expect them to hold on to it? We shall see. The offense, if they get back to where they were in the first couple of months of the year, we could see them right back at the top of this division once again. Minnesota has been beset by a bunch of injuries on the pitching side there. No surprise that their offense is starting to come back down to earth as well. 2-8 in their last 10, lost 4 straight, and they're not playing very good baseball right now. And it sounds like Ober as well could be another pitcher that's headed towards a certain injured list or a certain stint on the injured list relatively quickly here. But a +7 run differential because the pitching has been good so far. But as of late, it's not done very well, and I think it's only going to get worse going forward. The surprise out of nowhere trade of Rafael Devers still has the Red Sox outside of playoff positioning as of right now. Jordan Hicks probably is going to fit into that back of that starting rotation or into the middle of that bullpen at some point, somewhere this year anyway. We'll have to see where they ultimately decide to deploy him. But they need to get Bregman back to help out this offense. Their young guys are playing pretty well so far. Mayer hit his first home run today. 8-2 in their last 10, winners of 5 straight. And things are looking good for Boston, but they are an extremely streaky team because of how young they are, and expect those ups and downs in performance to continue as the year goes along. That will be mitigated to some degree by the veterans in that room. Say when Bregman gets back and healthy, that'll help reduce some of the variance in performance there. That'll help stabilize that team a little bit. But with the loss of Devers, possibly the best bat to move at the deadline here, well in advance of the deadline. Sounds like they just want to get rid of the issue in the clubhouse more than anything else. They got a decent return, but I think they could have gotten a little bit more, even with that contract being underwater. They got the Giants to take the entirety of it, so good on them for getting rid of the entirety of that deal. But what does this send as a message to Alex Bregman? Hey, we just signed this guy to a couple years ago, was seen as our cornerstone piece of our franchise. Not only did we bring in his replacement in the field, we then didn't decide to keep him on our roster less than a couple of years after giving him that mega deal. So how much sense does it make for Alex Bregman to sign there long term? Well, money talks, and I think Bregman wanted a number in Houston, didn't get it, looked elsewhere, didn't get the long-term contract he was looking for, and instead settled for the number that he got from the Boston Red Sox. With Devers now gone, maybe he sees this as an opportunity for the Boston Red Sox to turn around and pay him the money that he was looking for this past offseason. We'll have to see. He's been great in a Boston Red Sox uniform so far. I would be mildly surprised if he ended up leaving there because I think he is the perfect fit for what they're looking for at third base. I think if Boston's looking to save a little bit of money in the long run, they should find other ways to cut it. There's still the logjam in the outfield that's going to have to be dealt with at some point. Their pitching staff is pretty good right now. They could use another arm in that bullpen as far as I'm concerned. But overall, a very good young team with an aspiring young core that's ready to go and try to compete this year. They were said to be looking to try to compete and win this year. That is still their stated goal, as Craig Breslow stated in his press conference availability today. The Texas Rangers have found their way back to 500 after a dismal offensive start to the season. Just look at the offensive numbers for Texas. 265 runs scored. Look at the team below them, the Cleveland Guardians. 270 runs scored so far. Tells you all you need to know about where the Texas offense has been at this year. Guardians are not seen as a offensive juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination. And for Texas, who was expected to come into the year and really light things up offensively, they thought they had solved their issues on the offensive side of things this offseason by bringing in Berger, Peterson, and others. They really didn't get off to a great start. I mean, pretty much the entirety of the team did not play well to begin the year offensively, with the exception of Wyatt Langford and Josh Young. Now those guys are starting to regress back to the mean. Meanwhile, we're starting to get resurgent performances out of Marcus Semien, Evan Carter, Jake Berger, among others, are starting to flex their strengths a little bit there offensively. That was not the case the first 2 months of the season, so good on them for finally getting things back in the win column there in Texas. On the pitching side, they've been doing a phenomenal job. For my money, I think they're probably one of, if not the very best starting rotation so far by the numbers in Major League Baseball. Based off of what they've been working with, I mean, you're talking about a guy who'd only pitched, 3 starts last year in Tyler Mahle. DeGrom didn't pitch at all last year. Eovaldi missed some time last year, has also been good this year, but also is missing time so far. Jack Leiter, who wasn't seen as a ace or anybody who was anywhere close to a sub-4 ERA type of pitcher going into the year, is right around that number right now. Patrick Corbin, a +7 ERA the last several years in Washington, has not been a good pitcher for a significant period of time, has somehow found the fountain of youth and is pitching very well, unless you get to the third time through the order, which I still don't understand why, with as much evidence as we've seen so far of his struggles getting to even just one hitter third time through the order, why they still give him that opportunity. I guess because he's a veteran, top 10 in strikeouts ever since over the last 10 years in Major League Baseball. But at a certain point, you just got to realize he's very good for that small sample size. Gets you through 5 innings, which, by the way, is what you're hoping for out of your starters these days. Rangers' bullpen has actually been fairly good, especially in the middle relief. They do need to get a more elite level closer as far as I'm concerned. I think that would be the finishing touch for that bullpen. They're going to be getting plenty of arms back here in the next several weeks. You're talking about Eovaldi could possibly be back as soon as this weekend. Bradford Spores are sounding like they're going to be another couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks away from returning. Bradford probably would slot in there as the number 5 starter in there in Texas and allow Kumar Rocker to go back down to the minor leagues, allow him to get a little bit more seasonings there. Kumar Rocker had a nice outing against the White Sox there to lower his ERA to 7.31 on the season, but he needs to perform a little bit better if he's going to stick at the Major League level, especially with as good of a starting staff as Texas has proven to have so far. The third pitcher they're going to be getting back is John Gray. He is about a month and a half away, probably looking more around the All-Star break for him after he took a liner off of his hand at the very end of spring training. He still has yet to throw the ball so far this year. He'll welcome in. Everything clicking in Texas, but offense, I don't know why. The offense really has had its struggles this year in Texas for a multitude of reasons. I think Jonah Heim got off to a nice start. He was actually hitting the ball in the air over his last, 2, 3.5, 4 weeks. He started to drive the ball into the ground again, much like we saw last year. Jonah Heim was one of the worst hitters in all of baseball last year. I think he was ranked dead last in all of Major League Baseball offensive categories last year for the majority of the season. Only in the final weeks of the season did he finally get out of that last spot, but only by a little bit. And this is the return of that level of player once again for Jonah Heim. For me, he's not on the Rangers much longer if he continues to play this way. I know the Rangers love him behind the plate. I know Bruce Bochy has a soft spot for him. But the Rangers, they have a good defensive catcher already in Kyle Higashioka. I think they're going to be just fine if they decide to go that route and have him play the majority of the games there behind the plate if Jonah Heim can't get things corrected offensively. I think they could do something like a mental break for him, like they did for Adolis Garcia. Same thing could be said for Wyatt Langford right now, has come on some struggles. Same thing could be said for Josh Young as well. I think his issues are far more profound, though. His swing is all kinds of jacked up. Jock Peterson, of course, got off to that terrible start. With all the money they have sunk into him this year, player option for next year, you can bet your bottom dollar that he will be back next year after how poorly he has played this year. And that's going to take up all kinds of money for the Rangers. If you're a Rangers fan, at a certain point, you just got to realize the money's sunk. Let's go ahead and at least cheer him on and hope he can perform a little bit better, and so the Rangers can recoup some value for the money that they put into him. But he is a very good hitter. He just has not proven to be that this year. His first month and change was really poor. Looked like he was starting to figure things out right before the injury as well. But we'll have to see how he returns. Evan Carter has been a nice piece for the Rangers, as it looks like he's back to being a similar version of what we saw in 2023 with Evan Carter. But again, he is so young. He does not need to be the aircraft carrier for this team right now. We need to see Corey Seager have a little bit better batted ball luck as well for the Rangers if they want to try to climb in these standings. Cleveland Guardians, 35-35 right now. 2-8 in their last 10, 3 losses in a row. I'm not expecting this to be a playoff team. I'm honestly expecting us to see some out-of-nowhere trades from that club, possibly out of that bullpen, maybe even a Jose Ramirez deal, but we shall see. All right, as far as the pitching side of things for the Guardians, not quite as good as we've come to expect them to be, giving up 296 runs so far. Look at the Rangers, just kind of give you the comparison. one of the best rotations in the American League, if not all of baseball, only giving up 238 runs so far. Look at the run differential for the Rangers, given their struggles offensively, still a plus 27 at 500. That number is going to go higher as that offense continues to improve. For the Guardians, though, not a great offense. Pitching hasn't been nearly as good as we expected going into the year, and I'm not expecting this team to nearly compete in that division. Expect them to be sellers, partial sellers, I should say, at the deadline. Angels, kind of an up and down start to the year anyway. You expect them to try to compete at the All-Star break. Then the next moment they go on a 6 or 7 game losing streak. They're 6-4 in their last 10. So we'll have to see if this continues for them, if they can continue to try to win some games here. Negative 61 in the run differential column, though, tells me a lot more of the picture here as far as where this team is really at. They're really dependent on just a couple of players here. To me, this is an opportunity to really develop more young talent at the big league level as they go along in the year. Try to sell off some vets at the deadline, I think, is the best case scenario for the Angels. Royals have not played well offensively at all. I talked about the Rangers' struggles offensively. Look at the Royals. Only 237 runs scored so far. Rangers, for comparison, since I got a lot of Rangers in my audience anyway, Rangers fans in our audience, 265. Gives you a great idea of where this Royals team is at. The pitching has been very, very good. In fact, the two teams do face each other very soon as well. Excited to see where that series... In fact, I think they play tomorrow. We might actually watch a little bit of that while we're doing our live tomorrow as well. But the Royals need to get a little bit better offensively. The run differential, negative 28, tells me just how bad the offense has been. While the pitching staff has been very good, just not quite as good as the Texas Rangers one as well. Baltimore Orioles, 280 runs scored so far, 359 runs given up. That's the story right there. You're not going to win anything giving up that many runs. They're 30-41. They, even with a great win streak after they fired their manager, they're still 11 games underwater. Adley Rutschman has not played anywhere near what we expect him to play at so far this year. Several guys having down years offensively as well, but the pitching staff really is what let them down to try to compete in the very difficult American League East. Now, Baltimore will have several pieces to sell. Ryan O'Hearn is having a great year. They could sell some pieces out of that bullpen as well. I know Bautista's name has come up in a number of different spots around Major League Baseball. I would not be surprised to see them move on from Charlie Morton, Sugano, pretty much anybody who's on an expiring deal. Expect them to try to field offers for those guys. Now, as far as guys who still have long-term control, I would not expect them to try to tear this thing down by any stretch of the imagination. I think they're going to try to say this is a one-year blip and try to make things better and go from there. Welcome back, Hank. Appreciate you joining us once again. No matter what, there's always an Upside Sports Network. Appreciate you joining us once again. We'll be live with you guys again tomorrow night. We'll do our Upside Sports Talk show. We'll talk a little bit about Major League Baseball. We'll touch a little bit on the draft lottery, touch on the NBA Finals, and the Stanley Cup Final as well. We'll talk a little bit of NFL, not too much anyway. There aren't too many stories at this point in the off-season. But we'll talk a little bit of Aaron Rodgers and what we can expect going in to this upcoming season. To finish off the American League side of things, the A's 29-44. Look at that pitching staff, though. 425 runs scored. They are in a AAA ballpark. Can you tell? And by the way, that ball is about to start flying out of that ballpark in the summer. Expect that number right there, as bad as it is right now, compared to where their offensive numbers are. That's a pretty decent offensive number for where they're at. But because of their ballpark, because of their limitations with skill with the pitching staff, this could be an all-timer as far as runs given up by a team. Understandably, the Colorado Rockies, the thin air, etc., expected to be an offensive haven, etc., how many runs are going to be scored. I think the A's are going to blow that number out of the water because of where they play and the pitching staff that they have. Expect that number to be way higher than anything you might actually be thinking as a reasonable guess right now. But the offense, I would expect them to try to field some calls and some of their expiring players, see if they can offload a little bit of money here and bring in some long-term assets. To me, I think they need to add pitching more than anything else. And we'll see if they decide to try to target some of that as far as the return for some of the pieces they may ultimately deal. Final team here, the White Sox, 23-49. Losers of 5 straight, 4-6 in their last 10. Will Venable has got this team performing much better than where they were last year. We do see some growth from some of their young players as well. Love his fire as a manager, former bench coach for the Texas Rangers on their World Series run. First season as a manager there in Chicago. And he looks like the right guy to lead this team for right now. I expect them to be a 500 ball club, not necessarily this year or next. But inside of the next 2.5 years, I would expect them to be a legitimate 500 ball club. They need more talent. They need to bring in, to me, more pitching. They need more hitting at the major league level to actually work out. So far, Mydruff has been a nice piece that they got in return for Garrett Crochet. They need Teal to really pick it up offensively, along with a couple of other pieces they're expecting to be part of their long-term future there as well. Benintendi, I think, is a good veteran for them to try to have in that clubhouse as far as his ability to relay how it is going from a highly valued prospect, high value draft piece in there, and then turning around and struggling at the major league level, and how to try to be competitive and try to stay at the major league level that entire time, building that intestinal fortitude. Not saying Benintendi's a great player anymore, but he's at least a veteran voice in the room with the amount of money that you have left spending to give to him. You're not getting rid of him at this point. You need some veterans at some point, and he is one of those guys. Luis Robert, on the other hand, has not played very well this year. Injuries continue to be an issue. Lots of money tied up in him as well. You keep seeing his name tossed around as far as a possible trade candidate, but I just don't see the team that's going to bite down on that contract in the performance that we've seen on the field so far, and given the injury risks associated with Luis Robert as well. I just don't see a trade really materializing there. They do have some nice bullpen arms that they could deal at the deadline as well, and maybe they trade away Aaron Savali, who they just acquired from the Milwaukee Brewers, in exchange for Andrew Vaughn. On the National League side, I'll try to go through this one a little bit quicker anyway, because I know you guys are getting tired. It is almost midnight here Central Time. We'll be back live again around 6-ish tomorrow night. And then depending on how things go, we might do our late night live as well. But the NL East, the New York Mets currently lead that division by about 2-3 games anyway. 45-27 so far. Phillies are 43-29 right behind them. But the Mets have lost 3 straight, 6-4 in their last 10. Looking at their run differential, they're at plus 80. Pitching staff has been very good. Run support has been very good as well. I would like to see them get a little bit better production from Juan Soto. But other than that, I think they're a very solid club that needs to, if you're going to make a trade, they need to add a true number one to that staff, and then they're going to be one of the very best teams in the National League, if not the best, on the NL side of things. Cubs, offense has been great. 385 runs scored so far this year, but that pitching staff, I think, still needs a true horse at the top, especially with Justin Steele going down due to injury. Expect them to be very active in trying to pursue a elite level starter. We're talking about possibly a Chris Sale from the Atlanta Braves if they decide to sell at the deadline. Dodgers, seen as the behemoth in all of baseball, really. Winners of 2 straight anyway. They 6-4 in their last 10. 43-29, nowhere near what I think anybody was expecting going into the year. But again, it's very difficult to win games in Major League Baseball. It's very difficult to sweep teams in Major League Baseball. And while the Dodgers certainly have spent a massive amount of money and tried to shore up every single hole they had, but going into the year, they're still inevitably going to have injury issues, and that's, again, reared its ugly head. Pitching has been their problem. 399 runs scored, plus 71 run differential. This is a good ball club. It just needs to start pitching a little bit better, and they will get healthy. That's been where the majority of the injuries have been, is on the pitching side of things. For the Philadelphia Phillies, we said it's a little bit of a resurgent year again for Trey Turner. Good on him for kind of solving those issues. We talked a little bit off the top about Zach Wheeler and his possible retirement. Whether that will ultimately come to fruition or not remains to be seen. But I do think the Phillies are now on the clock as to whether or not they're going to win a World Series with Zach Wheeler, or if he's going to leave or retire before that ultimately happens. But 43-29, 3 games above 500, winners of 5 straight. They're going to be having the Marlins they're going to Miami anyway next. We'll see if they can rack up a few wins here against one of the teams that's not expected to do anything special necessarily this year. They do have a couple of pieces that could be nice trade candidates as well at the deadline, including Kyle Stowers and Sandy Alcantara out there in Miami. San Francisco Giants are 10 games above 500. 45 run differential. Their pitching has been pretty darn good so far. Offense has been the issue there. Adames has not played anywhere near the level we expected him to. I think it's just him adjusting to how his swing fits that new ballpark out there in San Francisco. As far as that goes, however, bringing in Devers is going to possibly be the best offensive piece they add at the deadline, so good on them for getting that done. I think Devers is a great piece, great fit, very similar in a lot of ways to what Barry Bonds brought to them. But obviously not necessarily at Barry's level. I think Devers is just that good of a hitter. He's going to do wonders in that division, on that team for the Giants. The San Diego Padres, 39 and 31. This division is very, very good so far this year. 4-6 in their last 10. 295 runs scored so far. Leaves a little bit to be desired. Pitching staff is pitching very well. Plus 25 run differential. To me, the offense needs to get in gear here. They have the piece to get the job done. Can they get the job done is the question, though. Milwaukee Brewers are first team looking in, or one of the first teams out looking in. 39 and 34 so far. Game and a half back of the final wild card spot. 5-5 in their last 10, plus 21 run differential. Pitching has been okay. Could be a little bit better. We saw the Aaron Savali getting moved, bringing in Andrew Vaughn to hopefully help out with the offense. Mizorowski, one of their very best pitching prospect, came in, pitched 5 great innings for them the other day. We'll see if they can continue to go the in-house route with their pitching, or if they decide to do some out-of-nowhere trades. We've seen that before with Josh Hader, where they tried to both walk and chew gum. They trade away the big contract, that big name piece. They bring in a plethora of pieces anyway to try to help them win right now. We'll have to see if they can thread that needle once again. But the Brewers are a good team. I think they'll be hanging around that division and around that final wild card spot for pretty much the entirety of the rest of the season. Reds, 37 and 35. Terry Francona at the helm there, 7-3 of their last 10. Sounds a little bit here like Terry Francona is starting to rub off on this team a little bit better, and things are starting to go their way. Will it remain that way? Remains to be seen. Pitching, I think for them could be a little bit better. I think they could have gotten a little bit better results out of their bullpen and that starting staff, as far as I'm concerned. Offense has been good enough, not necessarily lighting the world on fire, but 335 runs so far. Far better than what we've seen out of a couple of these bottom-dwelling teams offensively. For instance, the Rangers still significantly lower. White Sox at 248. The Reds are doing pretty well, not quite to the level of the Yankees, but we'll see if they can continue their winning ways. As far as where the Reds ultimately keep going, I think they're going to go as far as Terry Francona is going to lead them this year. How much juice does he have left in the tank? And then after this year, we'll see where everything where the chips fall. As far as the St. Louis Cardinals, a team that was on top of this division for a period of time, 37 and 35, 3 games back of the final wild card, 3-7 in their last 10. This is a team that's not pitching very well. The offense has started to regress a little bit once again, like we expected going into the year. And I'm starting to see the writing on the wall once again for the Cardinals that their Cinderella start to the season is going to fall flat on their face. So as far as the Cardinals go, I think they're going to look to try to move off of the money of Nolan Arenado. I think they're going to try to recoup a king's ransom for Ryan Helsley. And I think they're going to try to go with a little bit of a youth movement in the second half of the year. But 2 games above 500, they may even start that process a little early, just so that there's not any confusion with the fan base of, oh, you could have pushed the chips to the middle and tried to compete or even stand pat. I don't think the Cardinals are in a position to really do that right now. I think they'd be much wiser to go ahead and move on with the Arenado saga and try to get this story over with anyway. Arizona Diamondbacks, a great season for Eugenio Suarez over there at third base. I believe he's at 21 home runs so far this year. 1 game above 500, 36 and 35, 6-4 in their last 10. -5 run differential tells you where this pitching staff is really at right now. Corbin Burns, their big offensive signing their big pitching signing this offseason, really has not lived up to expectations, primarily because he's out for the year due to Tommy John. So wishing him a speedy recovery, but this pitching staff was expected to be significantly better with all kinds of depth, and it just hasn't worked. 366 runs given up. By comparison, Texas is beneath 100 and change from there. I think the Diamondbacks would agree that they have not played very good baseball so far. The offense has been the one thing that's kept them afloat so far and kind of kept it closer than it really should be. But the Diamondbacks should not be trying to add here at the deadline. This is a team that needs to go ahead and try to go on a little bit of a losing streak and just try to make their case a little easier to their fan base to say, hey, look, things weren't working with this guy. We tried X, Y, and Z, and so therefore we decided to go ahead and move on. Now remember, Burns will be back at some point. You're going to have to figure out contract situations with Montgomery. You're going to have to figure out them with Kelly. You're going to Gallen as well. I don't think they're going to retain all 3 of those guys, so we'll have to see where they ultimately decide to end up there as far as buyer or seller. Braves, I expect them to be a seller here, 4-6 in their last 10, 8 games back of the final wild card spot. They were off to a terrible start this year, kind of solidified themselves a little bit, but are starting to slide just a little bit back down even further. 31 and 39 so far. Plus 12 run differential tells you how good their pitching has been to kind of keep them in these games. Offense could be a little bit better. Pitching could be a little bit better, especially out of that bullpen for me. But for the Braves, I just don't think they're going to be able to climb that mountain. I think there are too many teams between them and a wild card spot, too many teams between them and winning the division. I just think it's going to be a tough road here. And I was trying to think of the other last night anyway, after we got off the air, about some possibilities for some offensive pieces to be moved. And the Braves were one team that kind of came across my eye, or that kind of caught my eye as a team that could trade some of their assets away. Talking about a Ronald Acuna Jr., great, incredible talent, great value, etc. He would demand a king's ransom in return. Do I think he moves? No, but I think it's an interesting name to kind of keep in the back of your mind for years in the future. As far as other pieces that they could look at if they tried to make a significant splash as far as a return on their investment, Austin Riley among other pieces as well. This is a team that certainly has a lot of talent, but some of that talent I think could be more useful traded away this year and try to go with some of the young talent, develop them this year at the major league level, and just see what they got. I think they're having some nice performances out of a couple of guys, but a couple of guys does not a team make. And I just think the Braves see the writing on the wall. I don't think they'll be buyers. I do think they've seen everything where it's at right now and say, hey, look, we tried. There's so many teams. We're not going to leapfrog them. Let's go ahead and be realistic about our chances to win. And I think they'll try to start a little bit of a bidding war here soon for Chris Sale. Nationals, they bring in Nathaniel Lowe in the offseason, and he's been very similar as far as production to Jake Burger, so kind of a wash on the trade. The good part for the Rangers, though, is not only do they have Jake Burger, but they also have Robert Garcia in return for Nathaniel Lowe. So I would say right now, so far, the Rangers are winning that tandem of moves. But as far as the Nationals go, Mackenzie Gore looks like the real deal. They got a lot of good young pitching that's ready to go. I think this is a team that's going to take off next year as far as James Woods, being a great piece there, superstar aircraft carrier type of player. And then I do think they're going to go ahead and add some big-time salary this offseason. We speculated about them possibly going after Vlad Guerrero Jr. Obviously, he is off the board. But there are several names I think would be a significant upgrade for the Nationals roster. They have all kinds of money to go out there and get these types of deals done. And oh, by the way, they have a great working relationship with the best client in Major League Baseball for the players. And we'll have to see if they can go ahead and try to get these things done there with Scott Boras. Miami Marlins, 28-42. Pitching has not been nearly as good as expected. 375 runs given up. Offense, been about what we expected, a below-average offensive team. Negative 91 run differential there. And they got a tough series against Philadelphia coming up. It ain't looking better anytime soon. And then we get to the Pittsburgh Pirates. All the Paul Skeens stuff I do think is way too premature, but I do think there's some rumblings out of Pittsburgh that I do believe that there could be a trade that's made inside of, say, the next year or so. I don't think they're looking to move him anytime in the next couple of months. I just don't think it's going to happen before the deadline. If it does happen, I think we're looking more towards the offseason where that trade can really expand to all the teams in the league. And what team is not going to want a pitcher of his caliber to come in and really change the equation for their ball club? So Paul Skeens, great talent. I just think that the Pirates would be better off trying to multiply the assets that they have in return for him at some point, because this is not a team that's going to compete for anything anytime soon. Last team here, Colorado Rockies, 15-57. They're flirting with one of the worst records in Major League Baseball history, and we'll have to see if they ultimately can kind of keep themselves out of that territory. Shouldn't be too difficult, but we'll see if they can kind of pull together here and get this thing over the mountain. But 15 and 57. That ain't a great record there. 3-7 their last 10, but they have won 2 straight. 446 runs given up so far. Offense also a little bit abysmal there out in Colorado, which is supposed to play up as an offensive pork. And I think that the Rockies have just not gotten the memo that, hey, it's okay to go ahead and hit. I do not appreciate the way the Rockies have gone about this either. They have not adapted to their situation at all. And I think they've got one good young pitching prospect they can count on. And I'm just worried that they're going to go ahead and ruin that one as well. But for the Rockies, we'll see if they can pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Now, again, tomorrow we're going to get into some of our sports talk a little bit NBA, talk a little NFL, talk a little NHL as well. And yes, of course, we'll cover Major League Baseball. Kind of check in and see how Ohtani feels after his start today. And really do appreciate you guys taking the time and joining us late this evening. For those of you who are part of our international viewers, I wanted to do this one for you guys so you guys could rejoin us once again. We'll be back live again tomorrow night around 6 o'clock, so be sure to join us then. And we may do our baseball live tomorrow night as well, depending on how much energy we have. We will have our power ranking show again on Wednesday, so be sure to join us for that one around 6, 7 o'clock as well. But appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Hit the hearts in the chat. Goes a long way to helping us out. So I just want to say thank you guys for sticking with us these last couple of months and doing much better. Career's kind of sorting itself out, so things are looking up. And we'll be back with you guys day in and day out again. But again, the top story today, Shohei Ohtani returned to the mound. 1 inning, 2 hits, 1 run allowed anyway. Still got 2 hits in the game, as last time I looked anyway. Just got to make sure he's healthy going out of the start today and that he feels good tomorrow as well. You don't want him to be sore. You don't want to feel like he's pulling something. Doesn't want to feel a numbing sensation or something that doesn't feel right in the elbow. You don't want to hear any of those things for Shohei Ohtani. But we'll have to see how he performs. I think that this was more of a rehab start for him. Wasn't necessarily worried about the result at all. It was more about making sure he gets through it healthy and making sure that he can build up confidence at the major league level. View this as more of a rehab start at the major league level rather than just a, hey, one-off kind of a thing there, for him. Now, as far as, again, our schedule, we really hope you join us tomorrow night. Going to have a lot of fun talking all different types of sports. We'll be joining you around 6 o'clock. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe. Follow us over on X at Upside Ascent if you want to be notified when we go live. Turn on your notifications here on YouTube. Goes a long way to helping us out if you'd hit that subscribe button as well. And you can find us on Facebook at Upside Ascend. Anytime we go live, we post on all of those platforms. So if you want to go ahead and join us, feel free to go ahead and hit the like and subscribe on those profiles as well. But appreciate you guys joining us this evening. We'll be back live again tomorrow night. Y'all stay safe out there, everybody.